Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Co-op Podcast, episode 170. I'm your host, Rich Bailey Jr., and today I'm joined by Mr. Gary A. Swaby. How's it going, Gary?
Hey, how's everyone doing, man? It's going good over here.
It's good to hear. And we are also joined by Mr. Jake James Lugo. How's it going, Mr. Lugo?
I'm doing all right, Rich. I just got back from a small trip, and I'm here ready to talk about some games.
Sounds great. So we do have a couple of things we're going to talk about this week, but before we get into that, we always got to talk about what we have been playing. So how about you go first, Mr. Lugo, and let us know what you've been playing.
Yeah, I've been playing a lot of stuff over the last 2 weeks and such. A lot of reviews have been going up on the website. Again, if you guys haven't been to thekoalition.com just yet, check out all the new reviews that we have up now. Recently, as of before last week's episode, originally I was going to be on last week's episode, but again, we decided to go a different route because there were so many reviews going up. I reviewed the Marvel Ultimate Alliance bundle for Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 and Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2. I got to check out both games, and I love those games. I played just about every single version that's been released of those. And the ones I could confirm for PS4, Xbox One, and PC are pretty bad. They've been handled really poorly. Again, I get into more detail about why specifically in the review, so I encourage you guys to read up on it. Besides that, and this goes hand in hand with an interview that I recently did also for Brutal on PS4. If you guys didn't know about Brutal was at E3 this year. It was announced last year at the PlayStation Experience. And recently, right before the game's release, because the game, I think, came out on this past Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken, that we did an interview with Richard Wood, the producer of the game, from Stormcloud Games. And I talked with him a little bit about what the game was, some of the cool, interesting inspirations for Brutal. It's like it's a dungeon crawler, like a roguelike dungeon crawler, very inspired by classic ASCII dungeon RPGs. Again, like all the worlds and stuff in the maps that you explore are built out of ASCII, built out of lettering. And I think that's pretty cool. It has a very kind of fluorescent lighting and kind of like neon lighting type of aesthetic to it. So it's a very unique looking game overall. Plays much like any other dungeon crawler or roguelike out there in the modern day. It has a lot of cool inspirations, so definitely check out that interview that I did with Richard, but also check out the review that I posted up on thekoalition.com. I got really into detail about that. And then finally, I also got a chance to play 2 more other games. One we're going to talk about later, which was Batman the TellTale series, which we'll get into a little bit later. But I also posted another review called Asterisk War Phoenix Festa that's over on the PlayStation Vita. It's this anime game that's based off a series which is also based off a light novel series that is for the PlayStation Vita exclusively. It's not that great, has a whole bunch of little issues. Again, if you know a lot about those characters from the light novels or the anime series, you might find something kind of unique about it that you might like, but other than that, the rest of us are just going to be scratching our heads. It's not that great of a game, so that's what I've been playing lately.
Sounds awesome. And once again, yes, the Brutal interview was awesome, as well as the review. So I believe that game is coming out this week. I don't know if it's already out.
Yeah, it's already out, I think. I think it came out on Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, cool. Well, I would definitely encourage everybody to check out the interview and the review if they haven't done so already. Yeah. So, Gary, how about you? What have you been playing?
Okay, yeah, one of the things I've been playing, the newest thing I've been playing is Batman, but we're going to talk more in depth about that in one of our topics, so, I'll break it down then. And the other thing I've been playing is the game that I'm really addicted to right now, and that's Overwatch. And they messed me up this week, for real, because, just when I was starting to, not play it as much, I was trying to I was trying to wean myself off of Overwatch, and then they went and updated the game with the Olympics seasonal update and stuff. So basically, they've added a lot of rare cosmetic skins to the game that are Olympics based. They call it Summer Games, but it's themed around the Olympics pretty much. So there's all these new costumes and stuff that you can get. And the thing is, this is only lasting for the entire month, so you only have this month to try and win all those costumes and stuff in the game. Otherwise, you won't be able to get them again until they do this again next year or something like that. So yeah, now I'm addicted to the game in overdrive. I'm trying to play as many games as I can to try and unlock all of the skins and stuff. And also they've added they basically ripped off Rocket League. They added a Lucio Ball game, a mini game to it, and it's pretty much Rocket League. You have to score goals basically. It's like a football kind of game, but instead you can only use Lucio. So yeah, they've kind of gone with the whole Olympics Summer Games kind of theme with Overwatch, but it's really fun, really addictive. I like the new skins that they've added, and it makes you feel good to unlock something that not everybody's gonna have as well. So like it's got me really wanting to unlock all the stuff. They've added like 100 different things, and there was actually some discussion about this as well in the forums. Like people don't agree with the model because you can actually buy the loot boxes to try and unlock all those things faster. So some people take issue with that, and because you can't actually use the in-game currency, like the in-game currency, you sometimes you earn currency when you unlock the loot boxes, and with that currency you can actually unlock some of the skins and the items and the emotes and all that sort of stuff. But for the Olympic stuff, you can't actually use the in-game money, so you have to either play this game for like hours upon hours or buy the loot boxes. So yeah, because even if you I don't think I'm gonna be able to unlock everything within the month, because you literally have to just stay on the game to make sure you unlock everything, because it takes a while to, like, when you're at my level, I'm at like level 70 or something like that. It takes a while till you hit the next level, and you have to wait till you level up before you can actually get an opportunity to earn a loot box and unlock some of the stuff. So yeah, it's going to take a lot of time to try and unlock everything, like for the Olympics and stuff. But yeah, I'm still addicted. I still love the gameplay. It's still really fun to play. So yeah, I'm loving that. That's pretty much all I've been playing.
Yeah, I like to give a shout out to Activision, Blizzard. That is awesome that they were able to add that in. The timing is perfect. Definitely makes me more interested in trying out the game. I also had heard that they're about to have the competitive. They're going to continue to do more competitive. I heard that there's a season 2 coming up. I guess sometime in September.
Yeah,
Yeah, like the next month or so.
Season 1 ends on I think the 18th, no, the 15th or 18th of August.
It's very soon. I know that. It's like wrapping up very soon.
Yeah, it's wrapping up, so then you gotta wait. So you can't play competitive again until season 2, and I'm hoping they really improve the competitive system for season 2. So
they already said they were going to change up a lot of stuff. I know there was like a list floating around of like some of the things that were going to happen for season 2, because it had something to do with the ranking, the skill matching, like the matchmaking and stuff, and then a whole bunch of other things related to it.
Yeah, they really need to fix that, because like I actually started playing on the American servers, because you can choose whether you want to play on Europe or America on the PC version, and I actually started playing on the American server because people suck on the Europe server. And the thing is, when you're playing competitive and you keep losing, your level just drops and drops and drops, and it doesn't make the experience any good for you. And obviously, like, there's the golden weapons that you can unlock as well, but you need to actually win matches. Like, you need to win 300 matches before you can get those gold guns. So like, they need to really tweak the matchmaking and make things a bit more fair, a bit more balanced, because your team could be sucking and you could be doing really well, but you're just going to be slipping rankings, and it's just it's not very fun. So
yeah. Well, hey, I'm still going to check out the game at some point, although I'm not sure when, but I'm more inclined to check it out now because I'm hearing that they are supporting it, so this is good to hear overall. So as for what I've been playing, well, 2 things in particular. I have been playing a game that we will discuss, of course, the Batman TellTale game, so I'm not going to discuss that quite at this particular moment. But I also have been playing some more XCOM. Not quite as much as when I first picked up Batman. That's all I've been playing now as of the last couple of days. But of course, XCOM Enemy Unknown. And I'm also going to throw this in here as well. I got to spend some hands-on time with the Xbox One S. I did see that we had somebody who left a comment on YouTube that made mention of the fact that it would appear as though we had a lot of negative things to say about Microsoft. So I would like to address that now and say, yes, I did play the Xbox One S. I will go on record right now and say hey, system is fantastic. I got a chance to experience it at a friend's house. They have a 4K TV, so I did recall that I did see somebody playing Gears 4 on a 4K TV at E3. So obviously, can't really see too many of those games quite yet because Gears and a lot of the other games that you will be able to see some of these major differences are not out yet. But I did see a couple of games that my friend played. I got a chance to play it as well. The system is solid. Like I said before, system is solid. I know there was a lot of concern that, with this system coming out, and then you got the Scorpio coming out, a lot of people have a concern that perhaps, people may not want to pick up this system. Listen, I was tempted many times to pick up the system, but I had to stop myself because, number one, I don't have a 4K TV. I obviously want to get the most out of the experience, so I feel as though I need a 4K TV. And number two, yeah, I mean, I'm very interested to see what the Scorpio has to offer. But I will say that based upon the time I spent with it, the system looks fantastic. It's a lot smaller than what you see. If you've seen video unboxings or all this other stuff about what the system looks like, it looks a lot different, a lot more smaller and different in person. But yes, this is the system Microsoft should have released from the very beginning. It's okay that they didn't because they had to take the learning curves to basically get to this point. But the system is fantastic. Would I recommend somebody buy it? Yes. If you don't have an Xbox One, but you have a 4K TV, this is absolutely yes. You should get this system. I understand that there's going to be a PlayStation 4 Neo coming out at some point, but we don't know any information about that yet. I would say more so you should look at the library that both systems offer because, look at the library of games that are already out in addition to what's coming. That'll give you a better idea as to which system that you should get. But if you are interested in the Xbox, you do want to play some older 360 games that are backwards compatible, and you do have a 4K TV, yes, this is an absolute no-brainer. You should pick up this console. Right now, the 2 terabyte is the only version that's out, but the 1 terabyte and 500 gigabyte are coming out in the next couple of weeks. So definitely absolutely worth checking out. Awesome system. That's pretty much all I have to say about the Xbox One S.
Quick question, if you don't mind, Rich. Actually,
Yes.
two quick questions. Okay,
Sure.
number one, okay, do you think that the original Xbox One model or that version is going to go down in price sometime soon if it hasn't already? And two, if people, again, like us that have already tuned into E3, know about the Scorpio or Project Scorpio coming over the horizon, do you think some people should wait on that? Or do you think that if you're remotely interested in Xbox One titles, you should get the Xbox One S?
All right, so that's a good question. So the first question about, there was a price drop on the original Xbox One. I believe this happened a couple of days before this Xbox One S came out. So now the system is $250 everywhere, and so that also includes some bundles. Like I know the Division bundle and a couple of those 1 terabyte bundles are now $300, but that's because the price dropped. So there is a price drop for those that are interested. Now, as for the other question about is it something that somebody should pick up? That really depends on, I want to say it depends on the person. It depends on their budget as well. I have to say, I was tempted, even though I have an Xbox One, I was tempted to trade in this system to get an S because, number one, it's a lot smaller. There's a bigger hard drive because I got my Xbox One at launch. But again, I don't have a 4K TV, and I know that, stuff like they have Netflix. There are a lot of apps that are going to become 4K compatible that Microsoft has not released yet. They're going to be rolling out this stuff over the next couple of weeks, in the next couple of months. So I feel as though it's not anything that you would need to rush into unless, of course, you have a 4K TV and you want that type of system now just to see video. Because we do know that there are a couple of games that are coming out that will support stuff. Some of the other things that Gear support, like the HDR, that is still a new technology that not everybody knows about. And it's still a technology they're still working with. I know it's going to be in Forza and it's going to be in Gears, but I'm not really quite sure how fast, how successful it's going to be. Obviously we'll find out when, you see it in these games, how important it is to the actual game. One thing I did want to say, because I didn't mention before, I know that there are a lot of people that have been doing unboxings. I know Digital Foundry did a couple of tests because they discovered that the system actually overclocks. So some games perform a little bit better than others. Uh, Really, it's only by a couple of frame rates, so on and so forth. It's not like a massive difference. But obviously, if you care about performance, you probably may want to get this system now, depending upon, if you think that you're going to see a noticeable difference. But some of the tests that I've seen, in addition to the tests that I've seen them show, not so much of a difference that it's like, you need to have this system. It's not like a major leaps and bounds. That's what Project Scorpio is going to bring when that system comes out. And obviously, as I said before, this system right now, the 2 terabyte is $399. So that may be pretty expensive for somebody. The regular Xbox is $249. So I would say if you want an Xbox now, you don't have a 4K TV, you should just get the regular Xbox because you can get a lot of bundles. And there are a couple bundles I did see also of the Xbox One S on eBay. I don't personally shop on eBay, so I don't know if I would recommend, that you check out eBay, unless, of course, you have shopped on there before. Definitely do your research. But I would say, yes, it all depends on if somebody has a 4K TV. If they think that they're going to get a 4K TV, well, then, yeah, you can also consider that. But you have to think about the fact that the Scorpio is coming out. We already know, I'm pretty sure the Scorpio is not going to be $400 when it drops. So that's why my logic is to take the $400 I would have spent on this console and just save it for the Scorpio. Add it to whatever the Scorpio is going to cost, because I don't believe that console is going to release at $399. So these are just a few of my personal thoughts. But again, you have the money, you have a 4K TV, yeah, you should pick up an Xbox One S without question. If you're thinking about getting the PS4 Neo whenever that's announced, again, look at the libraries of both consoles, and then that will pretty much let you know what it is that you want to invest your money into. But yeah, great system. I would kind of wish that I did wait for just this system, to be quite honest, because it looks nice. I mean, it looks a really nice in person. That really, if you see it on TV or whatever, that doesn't do it justice. You have to see it in person. But unfortunately, I'm going to have to wait because I want to see what the Scorpio is all about. But great system to pick up for those who want an Xbox right now and they have a 4K TV.
Yeah, I will say, like, if I wasn't a dedicated PC gamer, and yeah, like, basically, if I wasn't a PC gamer, I probably would have been getting this system.
Oh, well, hey.
And if Microsoft didn't, say that all their games are going to be on Windows. Well, not all their games, but their exclusives and stuff. So.
Oh no, but see, you were accurate there. You
there was clarification on that.
Yeah. No. But you accurately portrayed it. You said it. You did it the same way they did it. You said yes, we did say that. Wait, hold on a second. No, let me backtrack and say no, I didn't say that. But it's all good. I mean, listen, the system is very attractive. It's a very nice design system. It performs great. It's not loud in any way, shape, or form compared to the original Xbox One either. So, like I said, I really had to think about that hard as to whether or not I want to purchase that. But then I'm reminded, again, the Scorpio is coming. In about a year from now, you're going to hear more about the Scorpio. So I don't see, unless, of course, I was going to get a gaming PC. Then if I was going to get a gaming PC, I would just get this system and just leave it at that. And that could still happen. You never know. But I'm going to hold out for now, but for those that can't hold out, they have a 4K TV, definitely pick up this system ASAP. Yeah. So that's pretty much covers all that we've been playing. So we're going to just jump right into the topics. So 3 really big topics to discuss this week. As again, people know this is summertime. It's not really that much news. We're going to talk about one of the most hottest games that everybody is talking about right now because it's about to come out in the next few days. No Man's Sky. So I know that there were some new developments in what's been going on with No Man's Sky. I would like to tell everybody, first off, that we will have a review for No Man's Sky at some point. You already know that Sony has said that they're not sending out any review codes to anybody at the moment. But Mr. Lugo, please do elaborate more on some of the recent things that happened, because I believe there was some news that happened today that you wanted to just inform us and let us know about No Man's
Yeah,
Sky.
within the last few days, like there's been a number of developments. I want to say the last like few weeks actually. I'm gonna restate that. There's been a bunch of stuff. Like I feel like everything that's been going on with No Man's Sky has been kind of like a big flub or a big fumble by both Sony and Hello Games, because there's been a lot of a lot of like unrealistic expectations that's been made by people. And while I think that it's okay to say like people need to temper their expectations for what this game is going to be, I think also a little bit of the blame needs to be put on Sony for the way that they kind of presented it to everybody and the way that marketing was done and how everything was kind of like blown up to such a degree that everybody got really, really hyped up with this game. But basically, here's what happened, all right? So not only did there was a leak, basically that copies of No Man's Sky, not only there was a guy that bought the game, a fresh retail copy of the game that hadn't been released yet for over $1,300. He got his hands on it he paid $1,300. Let me restate that. That's a lot of money for a game. He wanted the actual game. Okay, I guess he got it from what was it, on like Craigslist or something, or eBay or something like that. Somehow it got out there and he bought it. And he started playing the game. And he said, according to him, from the post that he was putting out there, he finished the game in about 30 hours. Now, keep this in mind. Like, all his impressions and all the different stuff that he was saying about it, a lot of that's going to change, because I'm going to get to it why in just a bit. But basically, he got his hands on the game, started playing it, started streaming it, started putting out impressions about what's in there. And Sean Murray from Hello Games asked him really nicely not to do anything about that, like, to please stop. And he did so, which is fine. But it's basically already out there. Now, this got even worse, okay, because more copies of No Man's Sky were actually being sold at retail stores. Like, there were people before Street Day actually able to go to, like, a Target or to go to, like, a secondhand, gaming store, like, a mom and pop shop, to actually go buy the game and have no problem whatsoever. Retail copies of PlayStation 4 versions of the game. Like, they're out there. People were posting on Twitter. People were posting on Instagram. They were all over the place. People were playing this game, basically, and people were streaming it. Now, was it the big websites, all over the place, Kotaku, Polygon, IGN, etc., got wind of this. And they're like, okay, since we're not getting retail copies, we might as well just go buy the game. I mean, you can't blame them or fault them for thinking that, because this is a hot topic. This is a big release coming up, and people are interested in it. And if it's already out there, you might as well just go pick up the game and actually start doing your stuff. Now, here's the thing, though. Okay, because there's a whole bunch of stuff that happened right after that. Polygon actually put up an hour playthrough of like the first hour of the game, just like the very big, basic introductory sections of the game. And Sony actually sent them a DMCA takedown notice. Now, for all of you guys out there that don't know what a DMCA takedown notice is, it's basically similar to like when someone uploads something to YouTube and it violates copyright, or it violates some sort of ruling or law. You could send a DMCA, if you're the parent company and you own that IP or you own that property or own that game, own that movie, whatever, you could send a DMCA notice to have that person legally take down that video. Basically. So basically all that content that Polygon had did in that video for No Man's Sky, they had to take it down. Now here's the thing though, and it gets to a very gray area, especially for us in the media. We didn't sign, or at least Polygon didn't sign any sort of NDAs for a game that's already out there. There is an element, you could get, into that deep rabbit hole about journalism, about ethics, and all this other stuff. But the bottom line is this: the game's already out there. The game's already being sold, even though it was sold before release day. And before, PlayStation and Hello Games intended it for actually be available to the public. But it's already out there now at this point. So I felt like, Sony was maybe didn't handle it the best way. To me, it was kind of like them going into panic mode and just having Polygon take down the video, even though they bought the game legally from a store. That it sounded a little bit iffy to me. But regardless, that's what happened. Now, the next thing besides that, though, that actually broke out today, okay? There's going to be a big patch for No Man's Sky on day 0, or day 1, basically. It's going to be a huge, huge patch that's going to fundamentally change a lot of the stuff that's part of the game. Now, everybody that's playing the game now for review or has a copy of the game because they bought it for their PlayStation 4 or whatever, PC and such, there's going to be a lot of stuff that's changed from that version. So not necessarily that version of the game that you were playing beforehand might not be the final intended product. In addition to that, you have to actually delete your save file in order to run that new version of the game after the patch. Okay, it's not going to be able to load your old save data afterwards, once the patch goes live online. Now, this brings up a whole bunch of questions. This brings up a whole bunch of issues that everybody's getting caught up on. At this point, you know, is it really that, the game wasn't done? Are there a lot of big issues with the game? Because there were stuff of note that were put out there by one of the guys, again, the original guy that got the first copy of the game. A lot of his problems and his issues that he brought up with bugs and certain things that could be abused and farming, for resources and stuff, a lot of that is probably getting changed, as well as a couple other additions here and there in order to make the experience, a little bit more optimal, or at least to the vision of Sean Murray and the rest of Hello Games. So, with that being said, what do you guys think about all that stuff? Because I think, like, everything that's been handled with No Man's Sky has been completely, the ball's been dropped. I feel like it's gone, way out of hand at this point.
Yeah, that's definitely crazy stuff. Like, I think there's, as far as the hype goes with No Man's Sky, I don't blame Sony for being the ones to generate the hype. I believe it's the fans making it seem bigger than it really is. But as far as for the leaks and stuff, like, well, not the leaks, but like people posting about the game who legally bought it, Sony's in the wrong there, because these guys, they bought the video game, so they should be able to post about it, like, put up content and stuff, because they legally purchased the game. The fault is with the retailer who actually sold them the game. Like, Sony should be going for those people, not be trying to take down, footage of the game and stuff, because the way it makes it look is that they're not happy with the game, or they think that, especially because they haven't sent out review copies at all. It just makes it seem like they know that the game isn't what people believe it's going to be, like in terms of hype and stuff like that. And they're just trying to do a lot of damage control, and that doesn't look good. It doesn't make them look good.
Yeah, I want to add one thing into there before we kick it over to Rich, because there was a thing that I was reading earlier before, and I mentioned earlier, but I don't want to get too much into it because I know you guys haven't checked it out. But our boy Rami Ismail, okay, we Rami, friend of the show, friend of the Koalition, he put up this whole editorial about day one or day zero patches and, like, game development and stuff, and how a game, especially this generation, isn't really finished when it necessarily goes gold. And again, I went through most of it and such, and I understand it, and I understand his perspective because he's behind the game development lens in that regard, and I might be speaking from a place of ignorance and naivety because I'm not within that type of, like, atmosphere or that circle of influence when it comes to game development. But as a consumer, I think it kind of sucks, and it is kind of a little bit bullshit, because that's not my problem as a consumer. Like, whenever we hear, and we're on the outside looking in, of a game going gold, or like when a company posts that a game's going gold, or that, they have their first shots of the retail copy of the game, or it's going out to stores, for us, we get the impression at that point that the game is done. Now, obviously, there are instances where patches go up day one and such like that, but for the most part, besides all that stuff that might be added last minute, the game is really essentially going to be the game of which people are going to buy at retail stores. So I find it a little bit annoying and kind of a little bit unfair how a lot of blame is put on people that, again, because of the breaking of the street date, it's really kind of like a condescending way to put blame on the people that are buying the game and having impressions of it already now, when it's just like, again, it's straight out of the box and stuff. A lot of that, you are right, is on the fault of the retail outlets, because, again, these are some major outlets that are selling this game. Like, I remember reading on Twitter that somebody went to a GameStop and actually bought the game, no problem, before the game was actually supposed to be out and stuff. And I think that's a big deal. I'm surprised we haven't heard stories about, like, Sony or maybe Hello Games going after different retail outlets, asking, like, why did you break street date? Because it just is crazy to me, because you never hear about releases of games, or at least, on a big scale, that where their street date is broken like that. I think that's maybe happened one time, and even then, I think it might have been for something like Grand Theft Auto, and I don't think they even cared, like, because it's Grand Theft Auto and they have a lot of confidence in their game. But I also think you're right, where, taking down the videos that Polygon did, or like what other people have done with the streams and such, does look kind of bad. Because, common sense for me anyway, again, I'm not a businessman, I don't run a company or anything like that, but common sense for me is like, okay, our game is actually being put out there on retail. People somehow got the game, and they're already talking about it. Yes, it's going to influence some of our day one sales and such, but why make it worse by taking an action and making it a big deal yourselves? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. What do you think about all this, Rich?
Yeah, so let me go ahead and say, first and foremost, I'm very surprised that you said that Target was also a part of this, because they are clearly one place where they have made it a point to be a target. I mean, you look at the logo. You don't want to draw attention to yourself by selling copies like that at this particular place. So I'm very surprised to hear that Target is doing this. And I will be quite honest, when I'm done recording this podcast, I will go to my nearest Target and see if they will sell me a copy of the game, if in fact they are behind this. Um, but I'll go ahead and say this. Yeah, I agree 100% that that Sony should not be coming after the sites. And then you have a site like Polygon. This is a pretty big site. That puts up these videos. You're coming after them to take the video down. I mean, did they even bother coming after the guy who spent $1,300 on an early copy of the game?
No. And by the way, Polygon did not sign an NDA at all. They didn't agree to anything. No site that was covering it or doing impressions agreed to an NDA at all, because they weren't given one. They bought it.
See yeah. See, so in my opinion, it is their right to do whatever they want, because they spent their own money on the game. They should be the one to put the stuff out there. And I will say this as well. I believe all three of us, we know Sean Murray pretty well. We've met him at E3 in the past.
Yeah.
I know that Sean, when I had conversations with this guy, I know he was very passionate about the games that he creates. Looks at it as if this is one of my kids. So I could understand they would not want spoilers to get out there. They wouldn't want this type of stuff to get out there. And I can also understand the decision that Sony would have to say, well, we're not going to send out review copies early because we want to honor the wishes of the team that made the game. That's fine. But when the stuff gets out there, because it always does anyway, you can't have this type of reaction and just try to take down stuff, because you're basically creating a situation where you're trying to prevent people from actually learning more about the game, seeing the game. They're going to see a lot of these videos anyway when the game drops in a couple of days. So I don't understand what is the urgency, or they put up a video today, or it must come down right now immediately, instead of going after the people who sold in the game, because I thought that was illegal for them to sell the games early like that.
Yeah, I thought so too. Apparently, because I asked somebody about this on Twitter, like somebody else that works for another website and whatnot, and I asked them, hey, listen, isn't it like, don't you get fined for that if you break street date? And they told me no. According to them, they said no. And I'm like, wait a second, because I've always heard by other various different people and people that work at different retail stores that they get a huge fine if they do something like that. And according to him, he goes to like the same grouping of like mom and pop shops that, when this stuff happens, they'll get games early and they'll sell like, sometimes up to 2 weeks early prior to a game's release. And you're like, whoa, like that seems like a little bit unfair, and it seems like a little bit much to not get caught. You know what I mean? On another fat point that you brought up, when it comes to spoilers and stuff, and I feel like this was one of the other major problems when the news broke out about No Man's Sky review copies not going out to outlets because of spoilers, I think that's kind of bullshit, because whenever we get games for review, especially if it's early and especially if they're narratively driven, No Man's Sky I don't think is really narratively driven. It's more experience driven than anything else. But like when you're talking about spoilers for anything like that, that's why we have NDAs. That's why when you send them to the press, you have them agree to stuff like, hey, listen, before this date, don't say anything about this game. Like that's what they're there for. So I don't think it was really about that. I don't really even think it was about anything else than the fear of the reception about what this game was going to get by the time it came out.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And to piggyback off of what you said about the spoilers, 9 times out of 10, when we receive this stuff, it will spoil stuff for us before we've even had a chance to play the game. It'll tell you, oh, this happens, oh, that happens. I know Gary and I have experienced that.
Or tell us not to talk about it, yet tell us what it is. Like,
exactly.
That's the best.
Exactly. Yes. So, yeah, you make a good point. I definitely think that I don't think that Sony took the right approach with how they handled this situation. To come after the people who, it's their job to publish these videos, to talk about these games. They purchased the product of their own will, so I don't understand that. I know that there was a game that I wanted to purchase a couple of years ago. I don't remember what game it was. I wanted to purchase it early, and I knew that Best Buy had early copies of it, and the Best Buy rep straight up said, no, we cannot do that to you because that will cost us. So, I'm very surprised that Target did allow this, but don't worry. I am, like I said, I am going to go to Target when this show is over, and I want to see if the game is in stock.
I'll
See
be
what's up with
surprised if you get a copy. I'll be very surprised if you actually get a copy of they just give it to you like that. Because again, that's my point. It's like, how can a whole bunch of places be doing that and not get consequences for it? Because then what's the point of a street date? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me.
That's true. And then what you said about the update, also the update that will wipe all of the. You said it will wipe all of the stuff.
Yeah, you can't use your save data. Like, if you got the game now, okay, and you were playing it, for however long. Let's say you put like 10 hours into it. You won't be able to continue from that once the update goes live, because it's totally going to change, I guess, something within the infrastructure of the game code or something specifically where that won't be able to work. So you'll have to start a brand new game from the very get-go. So that guy that was the first one to get the game, that finished the game, which is basically get to the center of the galaxy within 30 hours, he won't be able to continue from that. So whatever planets also that were claimed by people, all that's going to get wiped.
So I have another question. Was that orchestrated as a plot to stop the people who got the games early, or is that just a matter of circumstance with the patch update?
And you know something? That's a good question. I think that's a response to everything that's happened. You want me to tell you why? Because you didn't really hear about that stuff beforehand. And I think that once it got out there that this guy got a copy of the game, maybe that's what they came up with afterwards in order to, quote-unquote, make it kind of like fair and even for everybody. Again, that gets into conspiracy theory territory, and I don't really, again, we don't know enough for that, but I still think that everything that's been handled, like, again, as far as the perception and the outlook of No Man's Sky in the eyes of everybody else, has been poor for Sony. And I think that if they were smart, knowing that the game got out early somehow and that for whatever reason retail outlets were out there selling the game and stuff, I think they should have moved up the release date and then told everybody, hey, listen, there's going to be this patch that comes up that changes stuff at this point, and actually turn it into positive buzz. But I don't know. Again, I don't know what's going on over there within the discussions that PlayStation and Hello Games are having. I mean, it could be a valid reason that we just don't know about why they handled it the way they did now.
I think one of the things they're going to do in this patch is, because the guy who bought it, he actually found an exploit. That's what made him be able to complete the game within 30 hours. He found he found some way to farm an item, and that helped him complete the game. So I think that patch is going to actually resolve that exploit as well.
Wow. Well, that's
but the only thing Sony needs to be doing is giving him his money back, because that's way too much money to spend on that game.
I don't think he's getting it back.
Well, that's
I just think they handled it very poorly. I really think they handled it poorly. Like, this was some bad moves, and I think they kind of panicked. I think that's why they did all this stuff, because, granted, again, looking at the stuff with Polygon, and even Arthur Guys was on Twitter, and he was talking about it. He was like, hey, listen, we don't have to do anything because we didn't sign any NDAs, so I don't know why you guys are making us take down the video or sending us, like, really strong-worded emails. Like, when they usually say strong-worded emails, that's usually like a threat, like, hey, listen, take down this video or else. You know what I mean? Like, that's what's commonplace. And I just feel like it was just bad overall. Just bad moves all over the place.
Yeah, it was bad, especially because they didn't get the game early. Sony wouldn't allow them the game, but they're going to tell them, well, you can't post the game. That also will cause issues with that relationship moving forward. I would say, because this doesn't make any kind of sense. I mean, you didn't give them what they asked for when they asked to review the game, so how can you tell them, well, no, you can't post any videos even if we didn't give it to you? What
and don't think for a second, right? Don't think for a second. I'm not talking about specifically the review outlets like us or Polygon or Kotaku or whatever. Don't think for a second, though, that this is going to really kind of impact the perception of the game in the eyes of the common consumer. I think that, just on hearing a lot of this stuff and not knowing any better, there's going to be bad word of mouth that gets spread around all over the place. Even though there's going to be people that say the game might be fantastic like that.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I believe that's accurate. We'll have to see how all of this pans out. But I just want to ask one final question before we go to the next segment. Are you guys going to get No Man's Sky?
Well, I'm
going to wait.
I'm actually supposed to be getting a copy from Sony for, review and coverage purposes, but they specifically told me you wouldn't be getting it early, like you'll be getting it after it comes out. So.
I think that's the best thing for now.
Well, after they see this podcast, they may say, you know what, Gary, to hell with you and the Koalition. We ain't sending you nothing.
I'm really interested to see what the game is about though. Like I've been, bashing it because I don't see the hype in it, but at the same time, like I like Hello Games. I like what they've done previously, and I like Sean Murray, so I do want to, play the game and see what it's all about, and I'll probably even enjoy it too. But I just feel like the fans really overhyped it because I don't think it's Hello Games or Sony's fault that it got so hyped up because all they did was present their game and tell you what it's about. What they vaguely told you what it was going to be about and stuff, like the whole concept, the idea. Obviously, they initially they kept away a lot of details and stuff, but they told you what it's going to be about, and then it was it was basically the fanboys and that really got behind it and hyped it up to the level it's at. So
yeah,
but
I think it's I kind of partially agree with Gary to an extent. I still think there is a little bit of blame to put on PlayStation and Sony game and Hello Games because I feel like the way that they talked about it, the way that they kind of didn't temper or at least weren't clear about certain stuff, made everybody get those high expectations and run with it. Again, I think there's blame all around on everybody. I'm not excusing the unrealistic expectations of some people. I think that's a huge factor to it. But again, I still feel like, again, everybody's a little bit to blame for all this, especially the response now that you're seeing from Sony. I think really specifically Sony and PlayStation, but instead of Hello Games. Because I don't think it's really Hello Games going after people like Polygon and stuff.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what it's going to be about, though. So, yeah.
Same.
I can't wait. Can't wait till later this week.
Yeah. So we'll see. I definitely will try out the game at some point. We'll see. I'll be sure to let you guys as well as everybody else know if I successfully get a copy before it actually comes out. Because I was serious about trying to go and see if Target would dare try to sell me a game. So we'll see. What
check
happens.
out Best Buy. Watch what happens.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, Best Buy too. But we'll see. We'll see. So let's move on to the next topic. From a one controversial topic to now another topic that I very much enjoy talking about. Let's talk about Batman TellTale. I know Gary wanted to ask a very specific question. Do we think that this is the best TellTale experience thus far? So I do want to answer that question, but before I answer that question, I want to get you guys' thoughts on this particular game. So how about you go first, Mr. Lugo, and let us know what you think about this game.
Well, very similar to how I felt when we first started E3, because we got behind a closed doors presentation of Batman. So we basically, that first, like, what was it, like 10, 15 minutes, basically is what we saw at E3, which is like the very beginning of the game, right before we got into the actual like meat of it and such. Again, I felt the exact same way I thought about it, seeing all the party stuff and seeing how the way, this is going to be a much more focused game on Bruce Wayne as much as it is Batman. I always thought that was kind of cool. That's a nice take on the Batman mythology and a nice approach to telling the story of the dichotomy between Bruce Wayne and his alter ego as Batman. I think it's also interesting seeing some of the interpretations of some of the characters, specifically Oswald Cobblepot, being the Penguin, which was the exact same thing I said to you, Rich, when we saw it at E3, because Gary was told when he went into the presentation, he was told that hey, they have a couple characters in there that are supposedly Batman villains, and I couldn't tell who it was. And then immediately when I saw it, I was like, oh, Oz, because Bruce Wayne goes Oz, and I go, that's the freaking Penguin right there, because he looks like the Penguin from Gotham, from the Gotham show. And lo and behold, that's what ended up happening and such. What I think, though, is interesting is that I don't think this is going to be a crazy big story as far as, incorporating a lot of Batman villains from throughout his rogues gallery. I think it's, there are some technical issues with Chapter 1. Again, only Chapter 1 is available now, and I think we're getting Chapter 2 in, a couple weeks? Something like that. But there are a couple technical issues that, from what I've been told and from what I've noticed in my version, because I did the PlayStation 4 version, I think, Rich, you did the Xbox One, and then Gary did the PC. From what I was told, each of the different versions has varying degrees of little, hiccups or technical issues that pop up here and there, specifically sound issues, which I think is kind of funny because that's always been a problem, apparently, in Telltale games and such. Those are, one of the main issues that keep popping up. But overall, I felt that chapter 1, you got a lot more Bruce Wayne than you did Batman. Like, there are some good, interesting sections with Batman, especially the detective section when you're trying like to piece together
Oh
the
yeah.
crime scene and get an idea of like what happened. Do the detective work because again, Batman is the world's greatest detective, and I think that's really kind of conveyed in this first chapter of this style of game. But again, there are some action sequences, but you don't. There's not a lot of them. You spend more time making decisions and actually in dialogue conversation as Bruce Wayne with other people of Gotham, whether it's Alfred, whether it's people that are attending Bruce's party, or talking to Oswald Cobblepot, the Penguin, and such like that. You spend a lot more time talking than you actually do doing stuff. And I think that's interesting. It might turn some people off, especially if you associate Batman with a lot more action than anything else. I think that just because this is the first episode, it's like things are probably going to start to pick up in episode 2 and 3, or chapter 2 and 3, for that matter. I think that some of the characters that you see here are going to come into play a lot more frequently now, later on into the successive chapters, because you only get to see Oswald Cobblepot like one time, and he doesn't really do anything. So it's like a pretty much a clear telegraph that he's going to be a huge component later on in the series, because he even tells you straight up like that. But also some of the other stuff, I think that, some of the decisions that you make, they do try to make them out to be like really big, and I don't think they're as big as like they're really trying to make them out. Maybe again they'll come into play later on in the series, especially like if you guys remember, again, full spoilers here, the section when you choose who you're going to give certain information to, whether you're going to give it to Vicky Vale or to Gordon, Commissioner Gordon, like that. I think that the way they handled that towards the end of the chapter I thought was fine, but I think that it should probably be a little bit handled bigger or come into play later on towards later chapters of the series. But for now it was just kind of like, okay, it just changed up the ending mildly.
Yeah. No,
Yeah, those
definitely.
are my general thoughts of Batman. I liked it. I thought it was cool. I don't think it's the best Telltale game out there now. Some people would
Uh-oh.
still argue for The Walking Dead. And I think that's a valid argument or a valid perspective to come from, because again, they're all very similar in some regard. I think this one, hopefully within the next couple of chapters, you're going to start to get more action than dialogue.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, that makes sense. I agree. Some very good points. So, how about you, Gary? What did you think of Batman Telltale?
Well, first of all, I'm going to throw a spanner in the works and say that I do think this is the best Telltale game. But
Uh-oh.
that might just be because I'm like Batman's my favorite hero, so like I'm a huge fan of the source material, of course. So maybe that sways my opinion on that. But overall, I did really enjoy it. I like that, I like that there's a bit more Bruce Wayne, because in all of the Batman stories we ever see, like, it's heavily focused on him actually being Batman in the suit. I mean, some of the movies have kind of shown, a lot of Bruce Wayne and stuff, but it never becomes an intricate part of the story. It never becomes a focal point. They never focus on, the balance between Bruce Wayne and Batman, and how, how his actions as both these people kind of intertwine and stuff like that. And that's what I like about this game. Like, it really does show that. And specifically with, the Catwoman stuff, and it looks like they're going to expand on that later on as well. Like, I just really like how it all kind of ties in, and his, decisions as both Bruce Wayne and Batman come into effect in the grand scheme of things. I do kind of agree with JJ in the fact that some of the decisions you make, they hype them up like they're going to be a big deal, but really they just change a few little things here and there, in terms of the outcome of the episode. And to me, it kind of seems like a lot of decisions you make are only going to take effect within the actual episode, and they're not going to take effect in, so like the next episode is going to have its own decisions kind of thing, and that only affects that episode. It seems like they're going to do it like that pretty much. I hope that you can make decisions that will have effect later on in the game. Hopefully we will see that eventually. I like that it's a really original story. Me and Rich were talking about this earlier. Like, it's a really original Batman story. This isn't really based on any comic or any of the movies or any of the animated, Batman movies or cartoons or anything like that. So it's really original, and it feels like Telltale were basically given creative freedom to tell the story that they wanted to tell, and I like that because it feels fresh, it feels original, and I like that. As far as the villains, we saw Oswald, and Harvey Dent is a key character. It's a very political episode and everything, so maybe we might see Two-Face at some point. Who knows? But I don't feel like in this season, I don't think they're going to focus on a lot of the big and more popular villains. Like, I don't think we'll see Joker. I don't think we're going to see a lot of the really powerful villains. I think maybe that will come later on when they do like a season 2 or season 3 or something like that. I feel like this is going to be a really a more of a political kind of storyline throughout season 1, and you're going to see like lower end villains like possibly Two-Face, Penguin. You've got Catwoman. I could possibly see like a Poison Ivy or something maybe coming into play, and of course you got the Falcones and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, so far I'm really enjoying it, and I feel like there's a lot they could do with this, and it's definitely one of my favorite Telltale experiences so far. Because The Walking Dead is great, but I'm not a huge fan of zombie stories, to be honest with you. Like, I watch Walking Dead, I play the games, like the Telltale games, and I enjoy them, but it's just like zombies are just like whatever to me at this point. The Wolf Among Us was really good. That would probably be my second favorite. What else? Game of Thrones, I didn't really like it that much, to be honest. I didn't really like Game of Thrones that much. I didn't even finish it. I just kind of got bored of it. I haven't played Borderlands, but I heard good things about it. And Minecraft, I'm not interested in. But yeah, this one really just seems like the best to me personally. That's just a personal opinion. So yeah, Rich, what do you think?
Sounds good. Some very good points. So what I'm going to say may actually shock both of you. So be prepared for that. But before I get to answering the actual question, so Batman TellTale. Yeah, the story, as you said, I really like the story from an original standpoint because it definitely is nothing that we've seen before, and it's also playing around with the pretty much everything that you think you know about Bruce Wayne, you think you know about his family. They're playing around with that dynamic, and I think that it's going to be very interesting to see where that goes. As for the action, yes, it is heavily focused on Bruce Wayne. You play for him, I would say about 75% of the episode you're playing as him. But the times you play as Batman are fantastic. Again, go back to what JJ said earlier about the detective work. I thought that was fantastic in how you were linking things together to see the outcome. But I also thought that the actual combat that takes place once you have your confrontation with Falcone at his, at I guess his little gathering, that was fantastic also because you're again using that same linking system to figure out, well, how is Batman going to approach the situation? He's going to do this to this guard and this to the other guard. I thought that was fantastic, and again, I know that Rocksteady, the way that they handled the forensic stuff with the other Batman games was great. But I really do like this approach because it just seems a lot simpler. It's not like a little bit too convoluted you just basically are trying to figure out what in the area matches, and then that you're able to decipher how certain situations happen. So I like the detective stuff in this game. As for the technical issues, the Xbox One, and I believe that this is on all consoles, the frame rate does drop, at certain times. It's not so distracting that it would just cause, massive issues. I mean, the game didn't crash on me. I know it did crash for JJ, but it's not the technical, the performance issues are still there. I do feel as though I want Telltale to really invest. I know they said that this is a new engine, a revised, revamped engine, whatever they want to call it.
It doesn't feel like it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't. I think they need to make a new one, a legit new one. And I understand that that's going to take some time because they've already have all these games lined up. You got Walking Dead Season 3 coming later this year. You got this Batman thing going on. You've already announced you're doing another Game of Thrones. So it's going to take them some time to probably create another engine, and therefore I don't know when that's going to actually you're actually going to see that in any of the games, but they really do need to take time to refine and make a better engine, which will account for a better experience. With all that said, though, I thought the episode was great. To me, the storyline is the most interesting because, again, you're taking everything that somebody would know about Bruce Wayne and they think they know about his origin story, and you are literally putting that on its head because now you're suggesting that there's some stuff that you don't know about the family. So I'm very interested to see where that goes. As for the decisions, now you guys made some good points to say that the decisions didn't feel like they were
I got a
meaningful.
good question for you after you say this because it's something related to that.
Yeah, okay. So what I actually was going to say is related to that. I don't know if I agree 100% with that because I do recall that there was one sequence early on when Falcone comes to the party and you have the option to shake his hand or not. And what I noticed is that because I did shake his hand to keep up the appearances of I want to try to make it look like let Harvey know that I support him. The people were still talking about that towards the end of the episode. It's like the people have a certain view on what Bruce Wayne is because they saw that he shook Falcone's hand, and I think that that's actually going to carry through into the rest of the season because people have a perception that Bruce may not necessarily be a good guy because he associates with these type of guys. So I mean I can't for sure say for sure that the choices don't matter quite yet because I think it is going to matter later. It's just that obviously I won't be able to confirm that until I see the next couple episodes. But I think that handshake thing, they made a big deal out of that, the information stuff as well. So we have to see where that goes.
But that's the thing though. Like I feel like that it made it more of a bigger deal than what I felt it actually turned out to be. Because here's the thing, and this was going to be the question I was going to ask both of you guys, because to me, I feel like, before the game came out, they were making this big deal, and they talk about it a few times in the game, how all your decisions are going to affect Gotham, where Gotham is going to be the really big reactionary thing to what you do throughout the course of the entire series for most part. I didn't really get a sense of that in this chapter, where the only time where I really felt that, and I think that if they go somewhere with this in the successive chapters, the successive episodes, this will be actually kind of cool. If you remember where you actually go to meet Oswald in that park, the Cobblepot Park, right? And it's all run down and it's messed up and stuff. I think it would be totally cool that in later episodes, if you go back to that park, and depending on what you do, it's for better or worse, that it actually shows that Gotham is getting better or Gotham is getting worse. Because I think that would be amazing. That would be so cool and match up to what exactly they were saying prior to the game coming out, where Gotham is going to react to your actual decision making. In this episode, I didn't get a lot of that. And now, don't get me wrong, I chose not to shake Falcone's hand, and I also chose to be a dick to him when he when we were having the private meeting and stuff, because obviously I'm playing more of the good Batman. I'm playing more of the ideas where he's not going to be like that. He's not going to be a jerk. He's not going to be a bad guy per se, even though he does like certain stuff where he fights villains and such like that. My Batman is not necessarily a mean person, or I should say he's not really a bad person like that. So later on in the episode, when I actually got to the point where there's during that news report and they talk about it and they get you that quote that happens later on towards like the very end of the episode and such, I see little kind of like, reactions and little type of like, outcomes with those type of decisions, but it still didn't feel like on the same level of what they were saying, how Gotham's going to react to me. Now, again, I still think that maybe that'll come in like the next couple of episodes and such, but I didn't get a sense of that now. And that's what has me worried. But I want to know what you guys think about that when it comes to Gotham reacting to your decisions.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's too early to say it's just the first episode. I do agree that we didn't really get a sense of that in this one, but I feel like it could definitely become a factor. I will say though that because Bruce Wayne is seen as this figure, like this public figure of hope for Gotham. I think the fact that what's happened to him in the press and everything, with him, his family being tied to the Falcones and all this stuff, like that could alter Gotham, because like he's like he's basically the White Knight of Gotham, kind of like he's that one public figure that people look up to, and they hope that he's that figure of hope for them, kind of thing. And Batman is obviously the Dark Knight. figure. So, you know, Bruce Wayne himself is like a symbol. So if with this whole Falcone stuff that's happening, I guess that kind of affects the whole city in a way.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the only thing I could so far that I could really think would affect the people of Gotham. But hopefully, you know, as the season goes on, we'll start to see, you know, more of your decisions and stuff having a bigger impact on the city and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I do think it is too early to tell. I was a bit confused by some of the reactions to some of the decisions that I did make. Because I recall the decision where I went to the scene of where Catwoman was supposed to meet the guys. And, you know, when you find the guy that's there, and then you have an option as to whether or not you want to break his arm or, you know, beat him up with the stick, I decided not to do anything to show that, you know, I'm not going to really go all the way. Yet, as soon as that ends, then the next conversation I have with Alfred, he says, "Oh, you've gone too far." Alfred, I didn't break his arm. I didn't do anything. What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly. That happened to me too because I chose to actually hit the wall, hit the little pipe next to the guy, like that. Not actually hit him, but intimidate him, and I still got scolded like that. Like it just seems a little bit off. Maybe that's just a narrative thing like that because maybe Alfred's just referring to everything as a whole. But I could totally see where you're coming from.
Yeah, I broke his arm.
Damn, Gary's cold. Gary's like, hell with it. You're gonna get this.
He wanted to see, I guess you wanted to see the reaction. Yeah. So, you know, I mean, I think as far as how Gotham reacts, you do make some good points. We still need to see exactly where they go with this stuff. And I do agree with what you said earlier, JJ, about the park. That would be awesome to come back.
That would be so awesome, to be honest with you. I think that would be perfect. That would be a perfect visual representation of what you're doing in the game. Because I just find it weird that they spent so much time there where you could observe all these little things where Bruce could just walk up to graffiti and just look at it. Mm-hmm. Like, imagine like if you're playing like a quote-unquote good path and you're not doing a lot of like really crazy decisions as Batman, all of a sudden that park starts to get cleaned up, like towards the later episodes. I think that'd be awesome.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It absolutely would. So, you know, we have to see, you know, I guess what the long-term plan is. I thought the first episode was solid, but now this is the part where there may be a shocking. As for the question that Gary asked originally, is this the best Telltale experience so far? I honestly can't say that it is. I could say that it's a fantastic start to the series, but at the end of the day, I have to give it to The Walking Dead for many reasons. But the main reason I have to say Walking Dead is still the best. We have to say, maybe this is not really a fair thing to say, this really was the first series that Telltale did that got them serious recognition. And they did it extremely well. You also did have the dynamic where, you know, and I wrote an article about this on the site, where they go above and beyond what they would actually do on the TV show. The fact that you would take the leading character in the first season and kill that character by the end of the season, that's something that you don't really see too often unless maybe Game of Thrones. So I think they need to be commended because, I mean, by the time I was done with that season, you know, you get to know these characters and then you lose them, and it's like it is a very emotional roller coaster that you go on. So I have to, for now, I still have to say Walking Dead is that. Maybe you could say that season 2 maybe wasn't quite as great. You know, maybe the Michonne series wasn't quite as great, but I still think Walking Dead is still at the top of the list. Not really. I know I understand Gary says with the too many zombies, the zombie fatigue. I understand that, but the characters themselves, the investment, the time spent with the characters, and then the end result, I just think that was fantastic. So Batman could get there, but you know, we still got to see how the rest of the season pans out.
Yeah.
Here's a good point. Here's a good point that I want to bring up. If this does well, like when all the episodes finally come out, I definitely want to see Telltale tackle Superman. I think that, you know, some of the characters that we see in a lot of other video games and even other forms of media that haven't been really handled that as well, I would love to see their interpretations here. Because keep in mind, we're also getting a Marvel game from Telltale sometime down the line. Like,
Yep.
that's still a thing. And from my understanding, it's going to be a Marvel Universe game, so it's going to have, like, multiple characters. It's not going to just focus on one grouping of figures, like the X-Men or something like that. It's going to be the Marvel Universe. But, like, if this does well, and this does pretty good, I would love a solo Superman game from them. And actually talk about Superman and have that writing be the central focal point of, like, what goes on with Superman.
I agree with that. That a good Superman game is long overdue. So yeah, they could do that. Gary, you was about to say something.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. The first Walking Dead, like that was a really fantastic experience. That made me a Telltale fan for life. Like just that, first season, like it was something we'd never really experienced before in gaming, like something so narratively driven and stuff. So they did an excellent job with that first Walking Dead. Even if, I prefer the Batman source material to Walking Dead, I can't deny that was a great, experience, that whole season. So with Batman, I guess maybe it's hard to compare because we've only played one episode. So like you
Yeah.
said, we still got to see, how the season's going to play out. But so far, I can say I'm enjoying Batman more than any other Telltale. But that's just because I'm a huge fan of the source material itself. So,
Oh,
yeah.
that makes perfect
But
sense.
but I still recognize what The Walking Dead season one did for Telltale and for gaming. Like it really raised the bar for narratives and games and stuff. So yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, any final thoughts on this topic?
Nah, I do want to apologize for all the spoilers. I think we should have gave a spoiler warning. But,
Yeah, I was just thinking about that.
Yeah.
I think they kind of got the idea, and I think it's fine. But I will tell you this, though. I'm excited for episode 2. I definitely am looking forward to episode 2, and I'm hoping that what happens in episode 1 is even further expanded upon or taken further.
I agree. Man, I don't think that we said too much with the spoilers because we didn't really say some stuff. But yeah, we do apologize for those. But listen, the episode is only maybe I want to say maybe about 2 hours, hour and a half, 2 hours. Uh, I'm pretty sure you can spare time to play it, so you should definitely try it out. That would be my recommendation. But yeah, that pretty much I think that's it for that particular topic. So we're going to go to the final topic now, and obviously this is a topic that it is quite controversial, but it's something that I guess it has to be mentioned because I know a lot of people was talking about this. So I know that Deus Ex, Mankind Divided. This is a game that is coming out later this month. I believe that we had a situation this past week where there was some concept art released. And in the concept art, they had a scene in which you saw some characters and then you saw a sign that said Augs Lives Matter, basically talking about the augmented people. Now, this got a huge response from some people. You had some of the Deus Ex people defending this particular situation to say that that they are creating a game here. It may deal with some particular issues, so it is quite controversial. But then you also had the Mass Effect people come out and directly challenge them. One person in particular that has from BioWare that basically had something to say about this game. So that led into a very heated debate on Twitter back and forth. So we did want to ask the question about controversy in video games, whether or not this is a topic that matters to us. I know you had something you wanted to say about this very specifically, Gary, so I'm going to let you go first on this particular topic.
Okay, yeah. So for the people who are, raging against Eidos and, the team behind the game for, doing the whole Augs Lives Matter thing, like I don't know why people it's not a big deal to me personally. I'm black, like I know the whole Black Lives Matter. I know the stuff that's happened, all the crazy stuff, and I'm against all the killing of black people and all that stuff. But as far as like the Augs Lives Matter thing, like I don't see the big deal. It's a video game, like it's just marketing they're doing, and like when you look at a game like Grand Theft Auto, they get away with spoofing stuff left, right, and center. Like they spoof damn near everything, in American culture. And sometimes they get lawsuits and stuff, but nobody really there's never like an outcry from the public over what Rockstar does. So like, these guys are just it's something so minute, like it doesn't change anything. Like so what? Like just let them do their thing. It actually makes a lot of sense to what the game is about, to be honest with you, because the augmented people in Deus Ex, there's like there's a stigma to them, like people don't, it's a real cultural divide in the game and stuff like that. So it makes sense. The only thing I will say that they did wrong, because when they came out to defend it, they said, "Oh, it was a huge coincidence and stuff." I don't believe it was a coincidence, because Augs Lives Matter. Like, there's no way you could it's just it's so much a copy of the Black Lives Matter and All Lives Matter. Like, there's no way that could be a coincidence. Like, I do think they kind of got influenced from that stuff, but I don't think it's a big deal that they did it. Like, it's so what? Who cares? Like, and I could go real deep right now. Like, okay, Black Lives Matter. It's not even like they don't. The people who claim Black Lives Matter and they like rag on about it on Twitter and social media and stuff. Like they've kind of skewed it into what they want it to be, and Black Lives Matter is like no longer what it really should be about. Like it should be about help. Like you should be taking actions to help Black people politically and stuff like that. But people just use it like the same thing with feminism. People just use it to push their own agenda and their own beliefs upon people. So like the whole Black Lives Matter movement and stuff like that, the All Lives Matter, it's just BS anyway, to be honest with you. Like, and if you guys got a problem with what I'm saying, come directly at me. These are just all my opinions. Like, it's nothing to do with the coalition. So come at me. Find me on Twitter, Gary Swaby, and I'm ready to debate anybody on whatever I'm saying right now. So,
whoa,
yeah, like people are just so sensitive right now. Like, and they're not directing their energy towards what they really should be directing it towards. Like, if you're gonna rep a Black Lives Movement squad or whatever, like you should be putting your energy elsewhere. You shouldn't be on the internet complaining because people are doing stuff based on entertainment and video games. Like that's no way you should be directing your energy at all. So like just let it slide. Like it's no big deal. Who cares?
Yes, very very well said.
And also as for the Mass Effect people, the only reason BioWare is coming out the Deus Ex game is because the Deus Ex Human Revolution actually had a good ending that it included all of your decisions, all of the decisions you made in the game. They properly included all of your decisions, all of your decision making matters to the ending that you get in Deus Ex Human Revolution. And BioWare, they couldn't figure out how to do that, so that's why they're coming at Deus Ex, because they see them as competition. They know that they can make a better storyline. So yeah.
Oh yeah, that tells me, that last part you said about BioWare, that tells me you still haven't forgotten about EA Play and the incident that we had, and we could not get into the event. So I am going to say something about that. But
wait, who actually came at Eidos from BioWare? Like, was it a black guy or something? Like, why? I don't understand. I don't understand why.
I'll provide that information. But in the meantime, Mr. Lugo, do you have any thoughts on this topic?
I have a couple. Again, I'm kind of coming late to this topic because I heard about it, but I didn't really look into it. And I did a little bit of reading prior to us, starting up the episode. So again, if I sound a little bit naive and stuff, I apologize. Again, I'm coming from a somewhat uninformed place. But I kind of compare this to the thing that happened over in Japan when I think it was MotorStorm Apocalypse came out, and they had just had the earthquake incident that happened over there. That kind of like really messed up the release of that game. And that was kind of like a pure coincidence on stuff that happened. Had nothing to do that they were doing some sort of social commentary on like some of the stuff that had happened or gone on over there. So I think I kind of relate this a little bit to that type of instances as far as like current events happening and also stuff that's being put into the content of a game. I think that where I think the Deus Ex developers or the marketing for Deus Ex really was kind of like, sensitive or eyebrow raising was in the marketing, putting Augs Lives Matter, because I think that if this would have been seen in the game later on when it came out and it was there, I don't think it would be as big of a deal like that. I feel like maybe, some people would have understood, oh, it's a social commentary on stuff like Black Lives Matter. That would have been the discussion. It wouldn't be put up or brought up as so much like a controversy like it is now. As far as the devs arguing like that, it is what it is. They have their own opinions that, not everybody is completely like hiding behind a PR rep or hiding behind being PC and stuff like that. Everybody has an opinion and stuff, especially on their own personal social media. I think that putting Augs Lives Matter in the wake of everything that's happened recently in the marketing material was such a smart idea. Maybe not, but that's very subjective. I think some people would, like Gary, don't have a problem with it. He sees it as like, the context of a video game, and it's not related or, well, not necessarily related or representative of a lot of the big issues that's been happening recently and such, And also keep in mind, I think that the guy from Deus Ex, Square Enix Montreal, brings up a good point. They are creating games, for a very long time. And I'm pretty sure that may have come up at some point, maybe prior to all this stuff happening. Again, there's no way to know for sure unless there's like design documents that show that prior, like years prior to all this stuff that's happened recently within the last like couple months, but there's no really big way to tell that. Do I think that, it's so much of a big deal? Outside, forgetting about all the controversy and stuff that's happened recently and such like that. For me personally, no. I think that if it's done tastefully in the game, that's all that really matters.
Yeah, absolutely. And let me. Oh, you about to say something, Gary?
I just wanted to say, because the Augs Lives Matter thing is in the marketing material, and I don't think it actually takes that long to put together marketing material. So that's why I do believe they did borrow from the All Lives Matter and Black Lives Matter thing, because like they could have easily just put that into the marketing. It might not be in the actual game, but yeah, that's basically all I want to say.
You think that that was a more recent thing that, after all this stuff, because it felt like not capitalizing on the emotional weight of everything that's happened and stuff, but do you think like it would have had like some sort of relevance? Or at least, people would have kind of like, gone behind that a little bit. Like I related a little bit to the Occupy Wall Street movement, and like some stuff for The Dark Knight Rises took a little bit of like echoes of that for the movie, and you could see it in the movie there, like, some similar parallels like that. Do you see it like more in that way?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with taking influence from real world issues. And like I said, it actually makes sense to the context of the game. Like, because the orgs are basically suffering a kind of apartheid kind of thing. So it makes sense to the context of the game. And it's not real. It's it's a work of art. Like, there's nothing wrong with taking influences from real world issues in art. There's nothing wrong with it. So
do you think that's? But you think that's was it a more recent thing rather than something that was figured out years ago, basically?
Yeah, I mean, the Augs Lives Matter thing specifically. Yeah, I think that's more of a recent thing because it's marketing material, and marketing material doesn't take as long to produce. So.
All right, so
well, the reason why I asked is because one of the big arguments from the guy from the Mass Effect game designer is that they're capitalizing on the events that spawned Black Lives Matter, and they're using that for their marketing of the game. That's why I asked that. Like, do you think like that's more of a recent thing? Because if it is, then that's probably a point why people are saying stuff like that, and I can understand it. But again, I'm more like in the camp of like, okay, let's see how tastefully it's done in the game. If Augs Lives Matter is actually a slogan or a thing that's inside the game already.
I don't think they could be capitalizing because, like, who would see that and be like, oh wow, this is like what's going on in real life. I'm gonna buy it.
I mean, outside the obvious similarities, clearly the guy that the Mass Effect game designer was clearly pissed off about that. For whatever reason it might be, personal or otherwise. It's just, again, there's obvious similarities there, with the slogan.
Well, I do have a couple thoughts on this particular topic. I first and foremost, let me say, I was outraged when I saw this, but I was outraged because the person that had something to say about this was the Mass Effect designer. He needs to be working on Mass Effect Andromeda because what I saw at EA Play of this game, this looks like it is not coming out anytime soon. Now I understand that people should have very different opinions. Obviously, what I think I don't think I don't think either person is incorrect in what they think about the actual material. If it is being used and it's not done in a way in which it can educate and inform, then I don't really think it definitely there definitely is some issues with it. I don't know if they are potentially I don't know if they're really capitalizing, because I know that they alluded to this being concept art. So, I don't think you'll see this on the front cover of the game in any way, which would be to suggest that somebody, to again, like Gary said, someone sees, oh, this is about the current events. I definitely want to pick this up. But what I do know is that the game already has its own controversial topics to deal with, because you're dealing with augmented people, and then you're dealing with regular people. So it already is going to deal with some type of controversial topic. So I don't really see an issue with this particular topic. And just to go off what Gary said, but very similar. Yes, I also am a black male. I actually live in the South right now. There have been a lot of responses to what has been happening recently. There's been a lot of protests that have been going not too far from here. But I also understand the difference between a video game and real life. This is a video game. A lot of people will look at games as a way to escape from real life. And then when you see something like this in a game, well, maybe you may not like that. I mean, it all depends on the person. But to me, I'm a fan of the series. I'm definitely going to pick up the game because I want to see how it turns out. But I am of the mindset that I can separate something from whatever's going on in the real world with what's going on in the actual video game. The video game is there to serve a purpose. It's a form of entertainment. A lot of people will talk about things being too controversial. There's a lot of things that you can look at as controversial now, whether it's a TV show, whether it's it's anything. It's not just about video games. So I think the people who specifically will go after this and say it's too controversial, they probably need to take a look at everything else that's around them, because a lot of stuff is controversial. It's not just about a video game.
Fun fact to kind of interject here real quickly, because I just read through an article on Polygon that actually kind of addressed some of this, and he even went to the game's producer over at Eidos Montreal and Square Enix and asked him about it. And he made a good point about how, this is obviously gaming now is starting to become art, and there is some sort of social commentary on a lot of the stuff that's out there, and people are going to be sensitive about issues in the real world or topics in the real world and such. But if you don't allow art to kind of take some inspiration or borrow some elements from what is going on in the real world, that's how we get some of the movies that are of the time they were made and stuff, and they end up becoming either considered great films or whatever, commentaries what were going on at the time. Then gaming won't grow as an art form. Again, if we become super sensitive to stuff that's going on around us and we just ignore it and don't allow others to freely express what they're doing and tackle onto the subjects of that, for whatever controversy, what might be going on at the time, again, gaming is not going to grow as a medium. And that's some of the stuff that he was talking about in the interview with Polygon and such. And I understand that. That makes sense. But again, I really go back to the statement I made before. If it wasn't in the marketing material and if we just saw it in the game upon its release later this month, then I don't think this would be as big of a deal as everybody's making it out to be.
Yeah. No, yeah, you're right.
I think the fact that it's in the marketing and the fact that it's being put out there early before the game's release, that people are thinking that they're using that to generate attention. And I think that's where people are getting rubbed the wrong way, which is understandable to an extent for some people. But again, I maintain the fact okay, let's see how tastefully it's done in the game. If it's actually that phrasing and that type of movement and that type of discussion is in the context of the game's plot and the storyline. I think that's really where the final judgment is actually going to come from.
Yeah, I would just like to say, I think Gary was about to say something. I just want to say real quick, I would hope that this type of stuff isn't being used to get attention, because the game already is a game a lot of people are looking forward to. I mean, they played the last game. It's taken quite a while for this game to come out, so I would think that they wouldn't need to really do too much to get any more attention, because this is one of the big games this month next to No Man's Sky. I think it all depends on how it's handled. When I heard about the Augs Lives Matter, I personally think that, yeah, it is in reference to I mean, it is meant to teach people about discrimination, not to really discriminate all this other stuff. But again, it's about the message and how it's handled, like you said, that's going to really be, what matters most. But yeah, I mean, it's a subject matter that's yeah, it's a very interesting decision, and it's a topic that's all over the place. But I think the game already is controversial anyway because of the subject matter, even before you get into this particular aspect of it. So I feel like no matter what, this is a game that was going to get some attention, obviously a little bit more now, I guess, because of the fact that this material is out there. You was going to say something, Gary?
Yeah, I was going to say something before I get into that. I kind of want to bounce off of what you guys were saying. Like, I definitely don't feel like they did it for attention because the Deus Ex series, I feel like it's a really niche series anyway. Like, it has people who like it. Like, it's not really, I don't consider it a huge mainstream blockbuster type of game. Like, it has its audience, and I don't feel like everybody's going to rush out to buy this game, especially now because of this. Like, there's no reason why people would see Augs Lives Matter and like see what's going on with the controversy and then want to buy the game. So like, why would they even bother doing it for attention? Like it's that I think they know that these Deus Ex games have an audience, and that audience isn't mainstream. Like it's not it's not a Call of Duty, it's not a Mass Effect, it's not an Uncharted. Like I think they know that. Like it just is what it is. Like it appeals to the people that it appeals to. So I definitely don't feel like they did it for attention at all. And I just want to say one more thing. Like I hate these movements. Like as the people who consider themselves affiliated with these movements and want to complain about stuff like this, you should be actually out there taking action and fighting for what you supposedly believe in, and not be on the internet complaining about stuff and trying to get your own way. Like that's not what being part of a movement is about. Being part of a movement is about taking action. So you should be really out there fighting for the rights of whether it's women or whether it's Black lives, and you should be really taking action and trying to make moves to better these situations, not be on the internet complaining about movies and movie posters and video game marketing and stuff like that. Because what is that going to do? What is that going to achieve? Nothing. So
that's true. Absolutely true. We can't say it better than that.
Yeah.
So, any final thoughts on this topic?
No, I pretty much said everything I want to say. I'm looking forward to seeing more opinions on it, more thoughts though. So
yeah, I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to seeing more opinions, more thoughts, but more importantly, I'm looking forward to Mass Effect. I understand, as I said, if you see something you're like, yeah, okay, I definitely want to comment on that. I think that the Mass Effect designer is within his right to say whatever. If he sees something he disagrees with, that's great. But BioWare, where the hell is Mass Effect Andromeda? Where the hell is the information about when this game is coming out? This is what I care about, And that game also had its fair share of controversy. We remember that, how people blew up the sex stuff in it, like it was like, oh, this is worse than porn.
Yeah, but I don't think that's the same. That's a fair comparison. I think it's two totally different types of issues.
Oh no, it's definitely two different types of issues. I understand that, but at the same time, I do think I don't think the Mass Effect people would have appreciated anybody coming after them talking about, I don't like how you portrayed this particular race of characters in the game. I don't like that you had a sex scene like that. So, I mean, I understand. They both are able to come at each other, and they should be critical of each other's work. I don't have a problem with that. It's a very important topic to bring up. And, like I said, if the Deus Ex developers do not handle it correctly, they definitely deserve any and all criticism they get from it. But let's see how it's handled before we say that, well, that wasn't a good idea. I mean, we just have to see what the intent is of that, how it's used. And again, Mass Effect people, I respect BioWare, I respect both companies. But listen, these guys, I want more information about Andromeda at this point, I haven't seen anything from this game quite yet that was like to let me know, oh yeah, this game is definitely coming out 2017. It's definitely coming out in the fall. So we'll see what happens. But good points all around. I mean, I believe that's pretty much the final topic. I think we definitely want to hear what you guys have to say in the comment section about this. Do you think it was right? Do you think it was wrong? Are you planning on picking up the game, or are you not picking up the game for this reason and several other reasons? I don't know. I personally think that Deus Ex, they also had the pre-order controversy, if you recall, last year that it was canceled. So
Yeah.
controversy is not good for this game in particular right now. I think they need to be very careful with what they do in the next couple of weeks. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, that concludes this week's show. I know it's been a pretty long week for me and Gary. We recorded a lot of shows, so glad we was able to record this show. Wasn't really that much to talk about, but please do feel free to let us know what you think on any of the topics that we discussed in the comment section. Any final shout-out you'd like to give? How about you go first, Mr. Lugo?
Really shout out to you guys, obviously, all the time having me on here. It's always fun chatting up with you, talking about the industry, talking about games, talking about news. Shout out to everybody checking out the articles and the reviews getting posted up on the site, leaving us comments. We really appreciate it. We're glad that you guys are engaging with us in the comment section. Keep it up. Send us any sort of questions, comments, concerns to us, whether it's in the comments, whether it's over Twitter, whether it's Patreon users that want to shoot us over an email. There's multiple ways to reach us and actually get in two-way communication with us about any subject, whether it's related to gaming or to the site or whatnot. Shout out to all the Patreons out there that are supporting us on Patreon. Again, it's really appreciated. Your time, your effort, and your patronage is always appreciated. Again, hopefully there's a bunch of cool stuff coming to you guys in the nearby future. And also on the website, we got more editorials, more reviews coming very, very soon. I know there's some games coming out next week. More than likely, we're probably going to have some reviews up for, as well as also in the weeks following, because we're getting ready. In about another couple weeks starts the real big season for gaming. We got September, where a lot of big releases are going to be coming out, and then afterwards. So get excited. A lot of big things are going to be happening.
Absolutely. How about you, Gary? Any final shout-outs you like to give?
Yeah, as always, shouts to all the commenters, the supporters, and everyone listening to the show. Shouts to the whole team, and yeah, shouts to everyone supporting us on Patreon. M. Collins, Gority, and what we do. It takes a lot of time, a lot of work, a lot of effort to put everything together. All these different shows, like for instance, this weekend, Richard Bailey has been on 4 different podcasts this weekend. I've been on 3. Richard's been on 4. So this takes up a lot of our time. So we do appreciate you guys. If you support us on Patreon, just because this does take up a lot of our time, and it takes up a lot of resources, and we got server costs to pay and stuff like that. So we really appreciate you guys. And of course, on the Patreon, if you do support us, you get extra tickets into all of our giveaways, so you got more chance of winning the games. And we're actually, adding in the coming weeks, we're going to be adding a lot more stuff to that. Starting from next week, actually, there's going to be some real exclusive stuff that's only offered to Patreon supporters. And, we're also looking at things like, gift cards and stuff like that to some of you guys who have been supporting for a long time. So, yeah, definitely look out for, a lot of the stuff we're going to be doing. And, just thank you to all of you guys that continue to support us.
Absolutely. I cannot say it any better than Gary just said it. We thank everybody for the continued support. Whether you are supporting on Patreon or not, we do appreciate the support, although there is some stuff coming to that Patreon you might be interested in. We'll talk more about that later. But in the meantime, thank you all for the continued support. Feel free to leave comments. Let us know what you think about this episode. Let us know what you think about some of the topics that we discussed, as well as give us your thoughts on the topics. And we'll talk to you all next week.
Peace.
Take it easy, everybody.